The UFC is headed to the Apex for the first time in 3 months, but this isn't some lackluster dumpster fire of a card at the end of the year because they're contractually obligated to get people matchups. This is actually a good fight card. We've got a solid main event between two fighters on win streak. Steve Garcia on a 6-fight win streak. 5 of them are by knockout. David Onama on his own win streak and a very dangerous striker. This is a great card, loaded with fun matchups, loaded with meaningful fights, and I'm going to give you an entire breakdown. My name is Angelo. This is We Want Picks, and I'm going to break down the entire UFC Vegas 110 fight card, giving you my picks, predictions, and DraftKings fantasy plays. But before we jump into the card, let's jump into the website. I have a full website loaded with tools and insight information. We have bets, we have picks, we have an AI, we have everything you could ever need while watching your favorite sport. So if you're hanging out on a Saturday, eating a Happy Meal with a drink, and you want to make a couple of bucks watching your favorite sport, we got you covered at WeWantPicks.com. On the website, we have a full suite of tools. Some of those tools are specifically designed for DraftKings Fantasy. Others are for other fantasy products, and we just have, obviously, a list of bets that we recommend. If we're looking at the DraftKings Fantasy tools, the most common of which is the Optimizer. This is a tool that exists in other parts of the internet. This tool will build DraftKings Fantasy lineups for you. I love DraftKings Fantasy. You get to build a lineup of fighters and then compete with that lineup against other people for money. It is a ton of fun, and any leg up you can get is well worth it. This optimizer obviously is going to do all the things an optimizer does. It's essentially a very fancy, complicated calculator. Inside of it, you'll have preloaded ownership projections. You can adjust the exposures. You can pull some levers, make some tweaks, and customize this, or you can run with it as is. And some of you might be looking at me like, listen, I love fantasy football. I want to start playing some fantasy MMA, but I don't know what the hell I'm looking at here. Well, we got you covered. We have the first ever beginner mode in an optimizer. When we developed this, my direction, if you will, to Josh, the web guy, and the developer who coded this from scratch was, let's get a TurboTax style experience. There's going to be people, many, many thousands of people who watch these videos that don't quite know all of this. So instead of expecting them to know how to use it, let's build a TurboTax environment. If you don't know what that is, at the end of the year, at least in America, we got to do taxes. We got to pay the government. And we do it with all sorts of complicated laws and logic and reasoning. So there's products like TurboTax. And TurboTax doesn't expect you to understand tax law. It knows tax law. And it's just going to ask you questions like, do you still have your job? Did you buy a house? And that's what our optimizer is going to do. It's not expecting you to understand how ownership projection works and what fighters you should fade versus double down on. What it's doing is it's asking you, who are your most confident favorites? Who are your most confident underdogs? Are there any fighters you don't want in your lineup whatsoever? And it uses that information and it builds lineups for you. We have another tool called the Event Simulator. What the Event Simulator does is it simulates fights 100,000 times and it gives you the outputs. Not only does it simulate the fights and give you the estimation on who wins, how often they win, how many points they score in a win, it will also give you each individual statistic along the way, like how many strikes both the winning and losing fighter land on average over those 100,000 simulations. All of this information is wildly helpful while building fantasy lineups, while placing bets, while attacking a prize picks or an underdog line. Check it all out now. It is freaking $10. And it's not $10 per tool. It's not $10 per event. It is $10 for everything for an entire month. A whole ass month. $10. And you know what this month includes? UFC 322, UFC Qatar, and obviously this card. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. Let's go ahead and dive into this fight card. We have 13 fights. I told you, this is a pretty good fight night card. And obviously it's going to be like shock going back to the Apex. We've been gone for so long. But Jacob will be there. So while we're watching stream, just listen for a hot dog shout out or two. We're going to open up this card with Talita Alencar and Ariane Carnelossi. Talita Alencar is just an itty bitty tiny little thing, but she's a very accomplished grappler. She's going to move forward, bomb away, try to rip you to the ground. She doesn't have the best takedowns in the world. She can be strong. She can just sort of rip, if you will, because she's not going to shoot a double up the middle. She's just going to grab you and just get to the ground, because that's where I want you. She's itty bitty, but she is dangerous. She's got plenty of experience on the mats. And in the octagon, she does have a handful of wins, most recently over Vanessa Demopoulos, which was her best win. She had 4 takedowns, plenty of control, absolutely dominated Vanessa, but did not quite find that finish. She obviously scored 103 points, but ultimately, this is a little bit of a different matchup because she's fighting Ariane Carnelossi. This woman is jacked. Look at that profile picture. Look at that. Look at the neck. The neck sticks out farther than the ears. She's strong. She's jacked. She is muscular. She's going to be hard to just push around and bully. She's not very good. Her takedown defense doesn't really exist, but she is aggressive. She's willing to get after it. Ariane Carnelossi isn't going to be a walk in the park because of how physically imposing she can be, but she doesn't quite have the skills. She is gritty. She is tough, but she doesn't really have the defensive takedowns. She doesn't really have the ability to just march forward and knock you out. Obviously, she did that against Liang Nan, but Liang Nan sucks. Ariane Carnelossi has been a little bit inactive as of late. She was just headbutt to shit in her last fight, but the only reason she was even in a position to get headbutt is because she can't defend takedowns. She won't defend these. Ariane Carnelossi is going to lose this fight. I don't know if I'm going to spend $9 grand on Talita Alencar, though. Probably not. Then in a surprisingly early slot on this card, we have Phil Rowe taking on Seok Ko. And this is a fun matchup. These are two guys that can do a couple different things. Seok Ko is a heavy-handed striker. He can work in takedowns. You can see he got 6 in his last fight against Oban Elliott. He's going to move forward, though. He's going to bomb away. His hands are a little low, so he can get hit. He throws everything with power. He throws everything at you. He will fire away in an exchange. He is not afraid to get into a fight. He also has a very weird stance, which can throw people off. As I mentioned, he's coming off this win over Oban Elliott, where he worked in 6 offensive takedowns, which he might need here because Phil Rowe is a very good striker. He's long, he's rangy, he's got solid technique. He does a good job using his range, using his length, leaning on the power. He's not the most powerful guy in the world, but because he's accurate, he can find it. He does get hit quite a bit. You can't see the stats here, but he has a negative striking differential, meaning he is hit more than he hits his opponents. But Phil Rowe is good. He's got dog in him as well. He was down 2 full rounds to Angelo and then found a finish in the 3rd to save himself from a 3rd consecutive loss. Phil Rowe's a good dog here. $7,400 is not an absurd price to pay. My only issue with Phil Rowe is he can be a bit low volume. His last 3 wins have been by finish, but you know, he beat Angelo in a fight that he was losing 2-0, and the only reason he got the win is because he was completely gassed. Before that, he beat Nico Price all the way back in 2022. Before that, that wrestler Witt, the hell was his first name? He was a wrestler that only had wrestling and no chin. Phil Rowe's decent. Ko is going to be the pick, and honestly, he probably is worth the money if he gets those 6 takedowns that he got in his last fight. Then we have Ardelean takes it on Montserrat Conejo Ruiz. Ardelean, famous for some things up top, some things in the back, and some things that are exposed on the OF, but she can actually fight. She's coming off her first win in the UFC, and you might look at this and be like, oh, she sucks. I think she beat Shauna Bannon. I think she beat Melissa Martinez. Maybe not. The Melissa one was a little close. Rayan Dos Santos, she finally did beat. Ardelean is not great at anything, right? She's not very powerful. She's not an aggressive wrestler. She's not insanely fast, but she is durable. She is gritty. She will move forward. She will not quit. She's got some dog in her, and she's just going to fight you. She's just going to fight you. She will get you in a fist fight. You will know you're in a fight. Like I said, I think she beat Shauna Bannon. I think that was a bad decision. The Melissa Martinez fight, a little bit of a weird situation with what they called a groin kick, but it wasn't. It was right to the gut. Kind of saved there a little bit. But Ardelean is tough. She's gritty. She's grindy. And while Montserrat Ruiz may have a better individual skill, meaning she's a very accomplished wrestler, she is a Mexican national wrestling champion, she's not great at anything else, and she's got plenty of quit in her. 3 losses in a row, 3 finishes in a row. If things get tough for Montserrat, she's done, and she quits. She does have good wrestling. We saw that against Cheyenne Bays in her UFC debut all the way back in 2021, but here we are, 4 years later, 0 wins later, and if she can't just start taking you down, doing whatever the hell she wants to do, you can absolutely finish her. Montserrat Ruiz is all wrestle, nothing else. If she gets on top, she's got great control. She does have a good amount of strikes, but there's no real power. She's been quitting And I don't see any success here. So Alice Ardelean is going to be the pick. Honestly, her price point seems absolutely outrageous, but she gets after it. She is busy. She is aggressive. She might be able to finish Montserrat, who has been finished in her last 3 fights. Although these 3 women are all better than Alice Ardelean is definitely better than Montserrat Ruiz. Then we have Norma Dumont taking on Ketlen Vieira. I was arguing on my live stream with Jacob that this should be the co-main event, or at least the featured fight of the evening. At least the featured fight. This fight matters a shit ton for this division. Literally, Norma Dumont could get a title shot off of this win. We have Norma Dumont. Very good striker. She's relaxed. She's patient. The striking is very technical. She can squeeze in a takedown or 2 as well, but the takedown defense is really what shines. She can move forward. She can move backward. She can lower her level. She can keep a fight standing. She has 17 takedowns in 10 UFC fights, and she is coming off the decision win over Irene Aldana, where she landed 159 significant strikes, did no wrestling or grappling whatsoever, just showed us how good her hands can be. She's taking on Ketlen Vieira. Ketlen Vieira is the bigger of the 2 fighters, and that's how she fights. She's very fee-fi-fo-fum-ish in the octagon because she just wants to plot forward, push you against the cage, and hold you there. She wants to keep you against the cage so that you can't just be faster and more technical, because she's not very fast. She's not very technical, but she is powerful. She can get some takedowns, but they're not traditional shoot takedowns. They're more fee-fi-fo-fum, drag you to the ground. You're against the cage, pull you down type takedown. She's big. She's strong. She uses those things pretty well. If she wins this fight, I would be surprised, but it would only be because she held her against the cage, like how she beat Pani. Obviously, those were a couple of takedowns, but you get the idea. And how she beat Macy. This was all cage control. 10 minutes of cage control. This could look like that. But I do think Norma's a little too fast, a little too clean, a little too accurate. I also think this fight goes to a decision, so Norma's going to be the pick. I don't know how well Norma is going to score in a fight where she's not going to be shooting takedowns. And there's not going to be a knockdown or a finish, just a lot of dancing around on the outside, but being the cleaner, better striker. Very confident in Norma, but I don't think there's a lot of points to be had. Then we have Chang Ho Lee taking on Timmy Cuamba. Chang Ho Lee, $7,700. And that's not going to last very long because this line is yo-yoing. Chang Ho Lee opened as the favorite. He swung to the dog, and that line might be full rebounding. Chang Ho Lee is a well-rounded guy. He likes to move forward. He likes to strike. He will just close the distance by literally marching forward and just bombing 1-2s. He's got feints that throws a lot of people off. He calls himself the Korean Khabib. Doesn't quite have those statistics, but he is a guy who will move forward, can get takedowns, can strike as well. And he's taking on Timmy Cuamba. Timmy Cuamba is another interesting guy to break down because these guys are somewhat similar. He can squeeze in a takedown or 2. He's going to move forward. He's going to strike with you. He's got decent power for his weight class. He does a really good job of working the body, trying to soften you up a little bit before coming up top to the head. The takedowns are not spectacular, but they are there. He's not quite the Korean Khabib, but he is busy. He does also get in your face. The takedowns are usually a backup, though, when he doesn't feel comfortable in the striking exchanges, but he is tough as nails. He will grind. He did just finish Roberto Romero, where he really showcased the hand speed in that fight. I am picking Timmy Cuamba. I do wish this was a little closer of a line because the reality is these guys are very, very similar. This is a hard fight to break down. I'm going to lean on the Cuamba side. I don't quite think I'm going to spend the $8,500, though, because let's say the Korean Khabib does Korean Khabib things. Now, all of a sudden, Cuamba's on his back the whole fight, and he's kind of screwed. So I'm probably going to sit this one out, but I do think Cuamba wins this fight. Then we have Donte Johnson taking on SD Dumas. Put Donte Johnson in your lineups. He will finish that absolute bum, crook, dog cage hiding criminal that is SD Dumas. Donte Johnson is a big wrestler who stepped up on short notice to fight at heavyweight on the Contender Series just to knock somebody out and then get a call up 6 weeks later to fight in the actual UFC. He is a light heavyweight who can knock people out. He can shoot takedowns. He can wrestle. He physically transformed his body to come down the middleweight. He looks spectacular. He is raw. By no means is he clean. By no means is he technically sound or perfect. He is raw, but he's also an athlete with power in his hands. He's growing, meaning in the sport, not physically. He's an adult man. And the physical transformation he went through is enough to show you the amount of time and effort he's putting in the gym. He's taking on SD Dumas. This guy is a train wreck. A train wreck. He was arrested 3 months ago for allegedly, I believe, robbing a house, allegedly. And they found him, the police found him hiding in a dog cage. He's got a rap sheet that's 19 pages long for all sorts of horrible crimes. It's not just a quick robbery or two. He's hitting women, allegedly. I don't know what he's been convicted of and not been convicted of. In the octagon, he's also hit a few women. His only wins are over pretty beatable people. The Cody Brundage win is actually the only quality win he has. Atman Azaitar, Dennis Tululin, cool. Josh Frem, he lost to him. He lost to Josh Frem. Josh Frem's been cut for sucking. That's who he lost to. Cody Brundage was short notice. Atman Azaitar is 175 years old. Ruziboyev smoked him. He pretended his eye was poked. Dennis Tululin, trash. That fight was trash. McCall Oletsichuk smoked him. Zach Reese was on his way to smoke him, then he got kicked in the dick. SD Dumas loses this fight. Donte Johnson runs through him, probably finishes him early. SD is literally selling his clothing on Facebook. He's here for a paycheck, and that's not going to pan out. Then we have Billy Elekana taking on Kevin Christian in the featured prelim of the evening. I'm going to pick Elekana, and there's not a world where I put him in my lineup, and you know why? Here's why. Dude scored 44 points in a win. A win. He was an underdog. I picked him to win that fight. I was a genius. I picked the big underdog. And then he scored 44 points. Do you know how little that is? You get 30 just for winning. He only scored 14 points in a win on his own. It's atrocious. But he should win this fight because he's a really good counter striker. He can control the pace. He does a really good job managing range, and he's got plenty of experience. He's got decent high-level experience. I know his record isn't the biggest, the largest. It's a good song. But he does have a good amount of experience in good promotions. 2 fights in the UFC, fought in the LFA as well. He should win this fight. He is fighting a mountain of a man. Kevin Christian is 6'7", but it's kind of useless length, at least on the feet. On the feet, he doesn't use that length at all. He will fire knees up the middle. That's when he actually looks long. But outside of that, he's just kind of swinging wild, swinging from the hip, assuming people will be scared that he's tall. On the ground is where you see the length. He can be a bit of a jiu-jitsu nerd because he's trying to wrap you up. He's trying to use those crazy long legs and arms to find things. But Billy Elekana's got decent takedown defense, good footwork, the far better hands. I think Billy wins this fight. He either has a very, very late finish or a decision, but he's not a guy you can trust at that price point when he just scored 44 freaking points in a win. Then we have Cody Durden taking on Allan Nascimento. This is a short notice fight for Cody Durden, and there's a couple schools of thought here, but we'll start with Allan Nascimento. Allan Nascimento is a fun striker. He will move forward. He does like to grapple as well, but his takedowns suck. Takedown defense isn't great. He actually kind of lets you take him down so that he can sweep you on bottom and take over from there because his jiu-jitsu is that good. The problem is, if he can't sweep you, he's just stuck on bottom. And he has no real urgency to get up. He is literally just trying to sweep you. On the feet, he'll let his hands go. He'll move forward. You don't want to grapple with him because he'll out-grapple most people. We saw that in the Jaffa Filo fight. You can see the 2 reversals here. He did have a takedown. Nice sweep. Takedown accuracy is only 24%. Defense is only 30%. So, yeah, the reality is he's not great at wrestling. So he can't really dictate if a fight goes to the ground or not. But if it does, he can absolutely command that position. He's taking on a short notice Cody Durden. Cody Durden made a name for himself. Let's scroll past all of these L's. Let's keep going. There we go. All right. In this little streak here where he beat JP Bays and when he beat JP Bays and Mata, when he beat Charles Johnson and then Jake Hadley, it was like, damn, how good is Cody Durden? Because in these fights, he was a dog. 11 takedowns, 4 takedowns, 4 takedowns. He was a guy that you're like, my goodness. The nonstop aggression, the nonstop cardio, the takedowns, he'll get in your face. He has a grill for some reason. And then, all right, Ulanbekov subs him. Ulanbekov's good. Okay, Bruno Silva knocks him out. Bruno Silva's good. Hey, we beat Matt Schnell. That guy kind of stinks. Josh Van beats the piss out of him, but he stays tough. Josh Van's fighting for a title. Jose Ochoa just knocked him out. These are good losses, and you can justify every single one of them, right? Josh Van's fighting for a title. Bruno Silva just destroyed a hyped prospect. Tagir Ulanbekov is a Dagestani. Jose Ochoa is another hyped prospect. But that's 2 knockouts, a submission, and notably, he got tired of shit in almost every one of those fights. He went from the nonstop forward pressure cardio guy to somebody who was getting tired quickly. He was known for relentless wrestling. Now, a couple of takedowns in, he's breathing heavy, shooting from too far away, and just relying on his chin on his feet. I do not think Cody Durden wins this fight. The question becomes, can Allan Nascimento finish him? Because Allan's takedowns will not be good enough to take down Cody Durden. So Cody's going to have to take him down. And then Allan's going to have to sweep him, because he's not going to submit him off his back. That is all very tough. I think Allan wins this fight. I think Allan could potentially finish this new version of Cody Durden. But I hate to keep saying I'm going to avoid. We only need 6 fighters on a card. So we don't need, there's 13 fights. Probably going to avoid it only because if Cody does not wrestle, Allan's not going to finish him on the feet. So then they're stuck trying to play catch up and throw in volume. I don't necessarily know if that'll work for him. So Allan Nascimento is the pick. We'll see with DraftKings Fantasy. Then we have Charles Radke taking on Daniel Frunza. This is a tale of 2 game plans. Charlie Radke is a pretty good fighter. And you're going to see he got knocked out by Mike Malott. You're going to see he got knocked out by Carlos Prates. But he's a good fighter. He's actually a grappler. He will lower his level, shoot a double, and then on top, he will control you. He's got good grappling. He's got aggression. He is not afraid to slug it out. And that is where the problem lies, because he shouldn't be slugging it out with all these people. He did get rid of Matt Semmelsberger, and that was a quality win. Urbina was a decent win as well. And then in his UFC debut against Mike Mathetha, or Blood Diamond, he was able to get all this control time. This was mostly against the cage because he couldn't really get the actual takedown. But Charlie Radke's a guy who will slug it out. He will shoot takedowns. But I do hope he's going to shoot the takedowns, because Daniel Frunza is a solid striker. He's got good pressure. He's got leg kicks. He bombs away on the feet. He continues marching forward literally no matter what comes back his way. He can keep his power late as well. He can find a late finish. You can take him down easily, though. Very, very easily. He's probably the better striker in this matchup. Certainly not the better grappler. So I'm going to pick Charles, and I'm going to shoot my shot and throw him in the lineup, because he, A, has a bunch of finishes, and B, all he has to do is wrestle. This is an easy guy to take down. He can take him down. He can finish him on the ground. Charlie Radke is going to be the pick. I will have him in my lineup. Then we have Isaac Dolgarian taking on Yadier Del Val. Couple things here. One, pretty high on Isaac. He was a all-American collegiate wrestler, and he fights like one. Starts diving at legs, shooting takedowns. Aggressive, great control, busy. Christian Rodriguez technically beat him, but a lot of us, rightfully so, feel that that was kind of a robbery. The problem is, after this fight, he got Brandon Moreau. Brandon Moreau's not good. Brandon Moreau's not a UFC level fighter. He was $9,900 in DraftKings Fantasy. And yes, he scored 125 points. The problem was that he came out to prove a point. And I don't fault him, and you need to learn in the octagon, but he kept the pace a little slower. He wanted to strike a little bit. He wanted to take his time. And that was great. And it all worked out in DraftKings Fantasy. He scored 125 points because ultimately he had the takedowns, had the control, had the finish. But in this matchup, if he's going to experiment and try to improve in the octagon, which you should be doing, it's going to be a little trickier, because Yadier Del Val is not freaking Brandon Moreau. This guy's a good grappler in his own right. He's got solid striking. He's got big power. He will work in knees in the clinch. He will not shy away from slugging it out. Cardio's not great, but it doesn't affect his volume. He'll just continue to bomb away. So he's a dangerous dude. He's an undefeated prospect who has no problem getting after it. I'm going to pick Isaac. I will have Isaac in my lineup because I think Isaac can get the takedowns, can find a finish, but I hope we get the C-Rod version of Isaac, the guy who just came forward and got after it, not somebody experimenting, right? Not somebody who's like, you know what, let me strike with him for a little while. I want to get comfortable with my hands. No, I don't want that. No. We're all comfortable. Just shoot a gazillion takedowns. This guy's a little too dangerous to be playing those games. So Isaac Dolgarian's going to be the pick. I will have him in my lineup, and I trust he's on a good team. He's well coached. He's an athlete his entire life. We should be fine here. Then we have Temba Garimbo taking on Jeremiah Wells, and this is an interesting spot. This is almost even money. Jeremiah Wells, actually, we'll start with Temba. Temba Garimbo is a guy that just a few years ago, The Rock bought him an apartment. He had an inspirational story, and he was the belle of the ball. He was on this nice little win streak in the UFC after a loss in his debut. When did he get the house? I think after the Ramiz Brahimaj fight. The Rock, literal, The Rock. Dwayne Johnson bought him. I think it was an apartment, not a house, but you get the idea. He's pulled himself up from his bootstraps. He built a life for himself. He works his ass off. He lives in the gym. And then he lost. He just got smoked by Vicente Luque. This is registered as a submission, but he was knocked down and then subbed on the ground. They didn't count it as a knockdown. I don't know why, because he ate a right hook, fell to the ground, and then was choked unconscious. Temba Garimbo lost that fight, and his friends, his family, everybody abandoned him, started making fun of him celebrating the loss. But I'm okay with it, because I know he's a mentally strong dude who has come from nothing and will pull himself up from his bootstraps. And the reason I even go in that long, detailed story is because he has the skills. He can strike at distance. He can strike in the pocket. He can work in takedowns 7, 5, 3. And he's tough. The question coming into this fight would be the mental component. That's a bad loss. 4-fight win streak. Lots of hype. He was a favorite in that fight. That was not a good loss. But I'm not worried about it. Now, obviously, there's some concerns here because Jeremiah Wells on the other side of the octagon has power in his hands. He's got takedowns. He's got very good wrestling. He's got very good jiu-jitsu. He's a high-level black belt that has some accolades. But Jeremiah Wells is 39 years old. And I'm positive he'll come out hot just bombing away. I'm positive that's going to happen. But after more than a year away, he last fought in February 2024. February 2025 was 1 year. We're now in November. So we're talking 19 months away. He's been out for a while. He's older. He's going to fade a little bit. Now, he doesn't have cardio issues, but he's going to fade a little bit. And if he can't get immediate early takedowns, Temba Garimbo is just going to gain steam, touch him up, defend a takedown or two, be the better striker. Jeremiah's got big power in the hands, great jiu-jitsu on the ground. I don't expect him to get a bunch of takedowns. Even the Matt Semmelsberger fight was wild. It was this close. Semmelsberger could have won that fight, and then a couple of mistakes on his side. Jeremiah Wells, very dangerous. 2 years away almost, 39 years old, against a young, hungry guy who has something to prove. I'm going Temba Garimbo, and I think he can prove a point here. I'm not saying he's going to finish Jeremiah Wells, because even Carlston Harris, that sub win, Jeremiah Wells was winning that fight before Carlston got it. I'm not going to say he's going to finish Jeremiah Wells, but I think that Temba could put up some points and style on him a little bit here. Then we have the co-main event of the evening. We have Waldo Cortes-Acosta taking on Ante Delija. Waldo Cortes-Acosta is a guy that I've been high on in the past. He's athletic. He's fast. He's got good hands. We've seen him wrestle. He took down Robelis de Spain 3 times, which 3 is not an overwhelming number, with 11 minutes of control. He got a takedown in every round and kept him there. He was a pitcher, a baseball pitcher, who then just adapted those athletic abilities to fist fighting. He hits pretty hard, but he doesn't have exactly a million knockouts. He finished a Ryan Spann who went up in weight and was looking for a way out. And then before that, he finished a Lucas Bresky who kind of stinks. Outside of that, he's a guy that you can count on to have good cardio, who will stay busy, stay active, not easy to get out of there, can work in a takedown if he needs to. Waldo Cortes-Acosta is one of the more well-rounded heavyweights, which is pretty promising considering he's not a fighter, was never a fighter, just kind of became one in the last 5 years or so. He's taking on Ante Delija. This guy came from the PFL. He moved over to the UFC, and unlike Patchy Mix, unlike Aaron Pico and a couple of these other bums, he got a win. A win over Marcin Tybura. He's now a top 10 ranked heavyweight. Ante Delija is a good fighter. He comes forward. He will strike with you. He will shoot takedowns. He will stay aggressive. He is not afraid to engage anywhere. He is Croatian, so just think Crow Cop. He doesn't quite have that left kick dead, but he's a very gritty, get in your face, has been battle-tested kind of fighter, and I trust him to win here. $8,000, I will have him in my lineup. I think he will get the takedowns. I think he will grind. I think he will strike with Waldo. I think Waldo is finally fighting somebody that's just going to be more well-rounded than him and a little better almost everywhere. He just lost to Sergey Pavlovich in the striking. Sergey Pavlovich was the better striker. Ante Delija is going to be the better wrestler. I think the better striker. I think more powerful. Ante Delija is probably a little better everywhere. And I think he wins this fight. I'm going to spend the $8,000 on my DraftKings fantasy lineup. Then we have the main event of the evening. You guys all have a lot of opinions here. I'm not encouraging you to go to one side or another. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I do like Steve Garcia in this matchup because I think he's awkward enough that it can be a problem. He's big as shit for this weight class. He is 6 foot. He is a little awkward, a little lurchy. He moves in kind of weird motions. He clearly has power in his hands. He can work in takedowns as well. And he is tough. He's got 15 minutes of cardio. We're assuming 25. He didn't slow down in his 15. He has 5 knockouts in his last 6 wins, and they're not terrible. Nerdenbeek isn't awful. Costa kind of is. Choi is not awful. Nelson is decent. He beat Chase Hooper before that. Steve Garcia is a guy that will move forward, that will get in your face, and that can create problems for a lot of people. He is fighting David Onama. David Onama is fast, clean striker. David Onama can also work in some really nice takedowns. He had 3 against Giga Chikadze in his last fight. David Onama is probably going to be a little faster and a little more technical here, but I think the overwhelming just sheer size and the weird motions, the weird movements, the nonstop just move forward aggression of Steve Garcia is going to pose a little bit of a problem for David Onama. I think you're good on either side. These guys put up numbers. David Onama scored 52 points in a loss to Nate Landwehr, where there was a little bit of adversity on his side, and he still put up 52 points. 43 points against Mason Jones in that fight. That's because he had 90 significant strikes. That's in 3 rounds. Add 2 more rounds, that's a decent dog. And if he wins, he's going to score really well. Steve Garcia is exactly the same. The only difference between the two is Steve has been knocked out. David Onama has not. But I don't think David Onama is going to knock him out. I mean, David Onama's, I know we talk about the speed and the power. He's got 2 knockouts. And it's against Santos and Benitez. David Onama's good. Steve Garcia is good. This is a close competitive fight. You're going to have to pick your side here. I'm going to be on the Garcia side, but there is a world where these guys go at it for 25 minutes and they both score incredibly well. Guys, that's the breakdown. Go to the website, check out the tools. The tools are there to help you make money. The tools are there to help make your UFC watching experience that much more enjoyable because now you made money watching your favorite sport. We have an optimizer. We have an event simulator. We have copy-paste bets. We have an artificial intelligence. Check it all out now. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. There's only $10 for an entire month. And that month includes UFC 322. We're only a couple weeks away. We have UFC Vegas 110, UFC Vegas 111. Then we head over to New York. And you know how these events are. We have the Apex at the bottom of the tier. Then we have regional fight nights that are pretty solid. Then we have regional international fight nights, which are much bigger events. Then we have pay-per-views in Las Vegas. And then we have pay-per-views at regional destinations. And then we have Madison Square Garden pay-per-views. Historically, the MSG pay-per-views are big-time events. I'm expecting UFC 322 to be one of those. It should be a great card. That is in the mix here. After that, they go to Qatar. That's an entire month's worth of events. Go to the website, sign up, do the things. Good luck this weekend.